Welcome to Movie Speeching. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take good care. Pandemonium is the name of the movie. In the middle of the street, Nathan wakes up and realizes he's been in a car twist of fate. His car has crashed on the threshold of the road, but Nathan doesn't have a single scratch on his body. At that moment he's startled using Daniel, the driving force of the bike Nathan crashed towards. To Nathan's shock, Daniel doesn't appear hurt either. Daniel wonders if Nathan recollects getting out of the auto, and Nathan admits he doesn't. He blames it on the shock and the fact he hit his head on the dashboard, but there's no wound and he doesn't sense any ache. Then Daniel drops the huge news: they're definitely useless and these are their ghosts. He theorizes he died first because he's been there for several minutes and before everything he turned into in denial. However, there's no different explanation. Nathan refuses to consider it and goes to check his car, noticing that the motive forces compartment is staved in. In addition, look exhibits his frame interior. Shocked, Nathan steps again and starts having an existential crisis, thinking about his pals and kids. Daniel mentions that he'll omit his spouse and reveals it weird that Nathan didn't mention the kid's mother. As Nathan maintains to freak out, Daniel says this confirms that the afterlife exists and that he feels at peace, which makes Nathan freak out even more and begins denying the whole lot again. Daniel gained permitted and brings the body out of the automobile to make him face truth. Given that Nathan is uncomfortable, Daniel covers the frame's face with a handkerchief. At that moment a car comes down the road and forestalls subsequent to the frame. Nathan attempts inquiring for help, however the motive force can't see or listen him. After the use of his foot to check that the frame is truly useless, the man empties Nathan's pockets, takes the money, and just drives away. Now Nathan eventually accepts that he's a ghost and wonders if judgment comes subsequent. He admits he killed his spouse, but swears it was out of mercy. Earlier than he can say more, Daniel begins hearing music round them. All of a sudden a mysterious white door sings in front of them on the same time that the place gets blanketed in snow. Daniel swears the tune comes from that door, however Nathan can't hear anything. They're approximately to move while a pink door appears behind them, looking more sinister. Nathan hears screaming coming from this door, however Daniel doesn't. They conclude the white door ought to result in heaven and the pink door goes to hell, which means Nathan is being punished for killing his spouse. Nathan freaks out again, explaining that his spouse had been unwell and he only desired to put her out of her distress. Daniel ignores him and attempts crossing his door, however Nathan pushes him and crosses first, but nothing takes place. When Daniel mentions he needs to behave higher if he wants to get a higher door, Nathan apologizes for now not seeing Daniel on his motorcycle at the same time as he changed into driving. In return, Daniel admits he had been distracted by using a little girl gambling at the aspect of the street. The guys proportion a hug to say goodbye and Daniel crosses the white door, yet not anything occurs to him either. He attempts once more to no avail, and he stops hearing the music. A voice speaks in the back of them and the little female Daniel saw sings, meaning she's also useless. She mentions that a person on a motorbike bumped into her and Daniel admits he had inebriated earlier than riding, prompting Nathan to give an explanation for it hadn't been simply in coincidence. Daniel had been reckless and killed an innocent baby. After a brief argument, the men attempt to guide the woman to the door, however she's been taught now not to accept as true with strangers and starts screaming. They fail to calm her down and Daniel gets tired, so he simply alternatives her up and throws her into the white door. The female straight away disappears, and so does the white door. In a while the men take delivery of it's time for them to cross as nicely. Daniel hesitates a touch, so Nathan kicks him in before explaining the situation along with his wife once more. He's positive he didn't do something and refuses to go. But a big monster appears on the road carrying souls in its flaming mouth and a terrified Nathan subsequently crosses the pink door. Then Nathan indicates up in hell, where he unearths lots of souls subconscious on the floor. Locating a younger woman makes him fall to his knees in surprise, and when he grabs her hand, he sees her memories. The woman's name is Jean and there are creepy shadows in her room. It's ordinary for her to have hassle drowsing because her parents won't forestall arguing approximately her. The mom wants to help her daughter, but the father is terrified of the kid and thinks they really need safety. Bored with this, Jean receives off bed and shall we her music box played before checking the window. There's a massive tree out of doors and she or he blames the creepy shadows on it. Then she is going downstairs for a snack and notices her dad and mom are nevertheless arguing approximately her. She chooses to make the snack herself and spreads jam on bread slices as an alternative clumsily, despite the fact that she looks happy to deal with a knife. Sometime later, Jean visits her therapist. She tells the girl how she fed some cookie crumbs to baby birds, inflicting the mom chip to worry approximately her children and fly towards her. Jean reacted by strangling all the birds. She also likes poking her little sister with pins because she hates her or even admits she wants to harm her mother and father. Jean knows they're scared of her due to the fact she's harmed them in the beyond even as they had been dozing. Due to the fact then they lock her in her room each night. The therapist wishes to talk about what Jean did to her sister, however she refuses to talk anymore. The following morning, Jean is on the table worrying breakfast, however no one comes. Minutes later, she seems consuming a bowl of cereal at the same time as her clothes are included in blood. Close by, her parents are dead at the ground. She doubles tests that they're actually gone, then kisses her mom goodbye on the cheek. Subsequent, she makes extra bread with jam and is going to the basement, which strangely looks like a massive cave. She offers the meals to her friend Tony, a humanoid but deformed being. Jean thinks Tony killed her dad and mom, but he denies it. At the same time as Tony eats, Jean broadcasts that since her mother and father are useless, he can cross upstairs and live together with her. Now Tony wanders across the house and is surprised by using the feeling of the warm sunlight, which he never saw earlier then. Jean takes him to the bathroom and teaches him how to use the tub even as she puts on her mother's makeup and jewelry. Over again, Tony is surprised by means of the feeling of smooth water on his deformed pores and skin. Moments later, Tony places on easy clothes that used to belong to the father and Jean asks him for assist to transport the bodies. But first, Jean wishes to prepare a wonder as a very last goodbye. Using her creativeness, Jean prepares a play for her mother and father, our bodies, inside the audience. She tells the story of waking up to no breakfast, imagining an audience laughing at her jokes. Then she uses a chain to drag Tony to the degree, saying he's the killer and that he'll be carried out. Tony once more denies having killed everybody, explaining he has no memories of his lifestyles earlier than appearing within the cave. Jean makes the group vote for his execution and Tony is compelled to step on a stool to self-delete. Later on, Tony hides the mom's frame under the double mattress at the same time as Jean fortunately jumps on it, considering teasing his mother and father with a knife at the same time as they slept. Quickly, Tony brings the daddy's body to hide it too, and he realizes he can't see himself at the replicate, confirming he's the illustration of Jean's dark aspect and she or he killed her dad and mom ultimate nighttime. Due to the fact that neither of them can cook, they've cereal and bread with jam for lunch. At that moment, someone jewelry the bell and Jean opens the door to find the mailman. He needs in person to signal the delivery, so Jean begins calling for Tony to no avail. The mailman decides to provide her an overlooked delivery card and leaves. Then Jean desperately is going looking for Tony, now not finding him anywhere downstairs. As she runs, the creepy drawings she's carried out through the years are shown. Sooner or later, she finds Tony in her dad and mom room, feeding on the bodies. She yells to stop it because the door closes. Later, even as her toys burn down, Jean examines on her little sister, who is making a drawing approximately the homicide. Jean proclaims that Tony is hungry and takes her sister to the kitchen, in which she pushes her into the oven before turning it on. Then Jean leaves the kitchen singing a happy tune because the shadows comply with her at the partitions. In hell, Nathan is disgusted through what he just noticed and crawls away. He finds a teenage female and her mom, so he touches them next. The mom is known as Julia, and inside the memory, she's seeking to make tea even as conserving back a breakdown. She calls her daughter's call, but she received solution. Then she notices a dry bloodstain on the desk. Looking to scratch it off makes her sense worse. Still in denial, Julia is going to the toilet to take her daughter's body out of the tub, which is experienced with bloody water. She continues to cry as Chloe is dragged around like a doll, and eventually she's brought to the kitchen table. Julia serves breakfast for her and talks approximately in all likelihood occurring an excursion together. A flashback from the previous morning shows Chloe inside the bathtub trying to shop for time. Julia came in and reminded her to hurry up due to the fact they couldn't be passed due to high school each day. Later on, at some stage in breakfast, Chloe kept listening to her mother arguing with coworkers at the smartphone whilst gazing a knife. Reminiscences of people violently harassing her at faculty haunted her, making her lifestyles miserable. A quick prick from the knife made Chloe's finger bleed and brought on the stain on the table. While it turned into time to leave, Chloe tried to give an explanation for she couldn't take it anymore and desired to bypass college. However, Julia said Chloe become new, so she best wanted a bit greater time to make friends. Chloe even cried and referred to as college a true hell, but Julia thought she become just being a dramatic teenager. In the gift, Chloe's body slides off the chair and the cat appears to lick the wound from her self-deletion. Julia scares the puppy away and puts Chloe on a wheelchair even as ignoring her cell phone ringing. She all of a sudden snaps and broadcasts they're going on an experience before dashing to her closet, where she gathers a few matters whilst having some other breakdown. Next, she covers Chloe's body with a blanket and swears she loves her despite the fact that she wasn't continually there for her. Julia additionally proclaims Chloe won't ought to go to high school anymore and that she'll domestic college her rather. Whilst Julia opens the front door to leave, she's stunned to look at blocked by a brick wall. This triggers another flashback of Chloe looking to disguise in a bathroom stall while different women saved calling her names and kicking the door. Their threats pressured Chloe to open the door, and they had once driven her in opposition to the replicate, insulting her before forcing her to her knees. The ladies made Chloe lick their shoes at the same time as one of them filmed the entirety. Back to the existing, it's discovered the brick wall turned into an illustration of Julia's neighbor, who has come to go to and thinks she heard Julia scream. A panicking Julia says they're leaving on a vacation and attempts to stop the communication, but the neighbor notices she's acting bizarre and bursts into the residence, getting a massive surprise when she sees Chloe's frame. Moments later, Julia is using away with the frame on the passenger seat. She cries as she describes the day Chloe became born, promising a higher life to any extent further. Julia continues begging Chloe to answer her, and in the end the truth sinks in, so she in the end closes Chloe's eyes. This causes her to get distracted and the car crashes in opposition to a tree. As a flashback indicates Chloe self-deleting in the bathtub and her mother finding her, Julia wakes up bleeding and notices the firemen breaking the door to get her out. She struggles with their palms, now not wanting to leave her daughter behind. Whilst some of the firemen drag Julia far away from the car, the others check on Chloe and locate her lifeless, assuming for now she died within the coincidence. Chloe is put in a body bag, ignoring Julia's regular crying and begging. In hell, Nathan covers the bodies of the ladies and falls on the floor, bored with looking tragedies. At that moment the Satan suggests up, saying he'll manual Nathan to his punishment. Once again, Nathan attempts to provide an explanation for that his wife had more than one sclerosis. However, the Satan factors out she were crazy and didn't ask for euthanasia, so Nathan hadn't had her consent. Then the Satan starts off evolved, guiding Nathan to another vicinity, even as explaining that the primary step in everlasting damnation is semi-isolation so the souls can neglect all the memories from their previous lives and grow to be natural spirits of pain and melancholy. Nathan crosses a new door and looks in a darkish room with other resting bodies. The Satan declares the isolation will remaining 4,000 years, which is nothing compared to the struggling as a way to come afterward. As Nathan freaks out, the devil leaves and makes the doorway disappear. All of a sudden a blanket actions and a rotting soul called Billy comes out. Billy thinks Nathan is his new toy and immediately attacks him, smashing his head and throwing him around without a care. Nathan is tossed on the floor and Billy begins beating him up until Nathan stops responding. Then Billy yells in frustration as he realizes he went two ways and destroyed Nathan's soul, forcing him to reincarnate. Within the actual world, a mom gives birth to a healthy child at the same time as the devil tells Billy that via sending a damned soul again, he's created the Antichrist. The devil punishes Billy by way of cutting his head off. Then he explains his body will develop lower back and Billy's new mission is to carry Nathan's soul back. Someday later, Billy seems within the infant's room. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a comment about your favorite movie, and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.